she is.
Hey,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Give me one moment. I'm just going to close my door because my dog's going to bark if he hears me. Give me
Sure,
a
no
sec.
problem. Absolutely. Yeah. My dog, for those of you guys who have tuned in before, you might know my dog, Lucy. She is over here being a very good girl. But earlier, right before this started, she was like trying to play. She was like chewing her squeaky toys. And I was like, oh God, what am I going to do? Because if I put her in the bedroom, she's going to bark. So anyway, how are you, darling? I
Good,
totally
and you? Is my sound okay? Because my mic is blocked.
Yeah, no, it sounds great.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you look awesome today.
Thank you. I got ready for you.
I know, right? I like put on some makeup for you today because I was like, I'm talking to a makeup artist. I should probably look like okay.
Aw. You can look
inclination-
however you want.
That's right. That's right. Well, my hair is really dirty, so I put it up into braids because I was like, this is the.
Same.
Yeah, but yours looks good though.
Thank you.
Yours looks
on
good.
camera, it looks good. In person,
Right. All right. So why don't we start here? Oh, your poor doggy. Your dog's like, pay attention to me.
Oh God. Anyways.
Okay, so tell people who you are, what you do, how long you've been doing it. Just give us a little background on like who you fabulous person are.
Sure. Hi. So I'm Jordan. I go by Jordan Alex, and I have been in the industry for 11 years. I got licensed in 2009 as a cosmetologist, so I do hair and makeup. I've lived out here for 4 years. Prior to that, I was in South Beach, Miami, and that's where I started my career.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
South Beach, what's that like?
It's cool. It's very seasonal, so that's a big reason why I left, because the salon industry really ebbs and flows. It's warm and it rains a lot, but yeah.
Right, so it's like here, except with more rain and less like super dry heat.
Totally.
So
it's
that's
very
funny.
humid.
Yeah. Yes, I come from the East Coast as well, so I'm like, I get you, and I understand why this is so much better.
Yes.
All right, so did you enter cosmetology school with the intent of becoming a makeup artist for like photo shoots and all that stuff, or were you like, I just want to be a hairdresser, that kind of stuff?
So I basically, going into school, I always knew that photo shoots were the direction I wanted to go. Any on-camera work, really. I love working behind the chair, but for me, I feel like I get to be a little bit more creative when I'm on a film shoot, collabing with everybody involved, versus the experience one-on-one with a client behind the chair. As much as I enjoy it, it's nice to change it up and sort of, that's what I enjoy about being a freelancer. But I've been doing photo shoots pretty much since I graduated from school. So
Yeah, because you're awesome. That's why.
thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, so for those of you who have joined us on the live, or it's not going to apply so much if you watch it in the replay, but if you've joined us for the live, this is a conversation between all of us. So if you have questions for her as we go along, feel free to either comment. I'm going to leave the comments on. Sometimes I turn them off, but I think it's going to be more fun to have them on today.
Yeah, for it.
Yeah, so you can either ask your question in the comments, or you can ask a question with the question card. You might see a little card there with a question mark. You can tap that. It'll show me that you have a question. We can pull it up and we can answer it for everybody. So, as we go through and talk with her about all this stuff, give her thumbs up, give her amens, give her, lots of love. Yeah, it is echoing a bit. I wonder
Am I echoing or you?
I think it's because your microphone is like looping a lot.
Let me change something really fast because I'm at my vanities, so there's very limited options. I'm living by a window because I don't have much natural light, so
that's okay
with what we got here. Okay, is this a little bit better or am I still echoing?
Well, it's me who's talking and echoing, so it might just be. Okay. Oh, that's a little bit better. When you're talking, I don't hear it, so that's good.
Okay, let me know.
All right, cool. All right, so you and I were talking a little bit earlier about like what we want to talk about here on the live, and you brought up some stuff, and then I like sent you my giant list of questions. Some of the stuff is like just stuff I want to know. So we're gonna talk about makeup for photo shoots, makeup for reels, like how to hire a makeup artist, what kind of stuff, you know, like what's the price point, all that stuff. And then I'm sure you have lots of thoughts about like skincare and like makeup for your everyday look and makeup to wear for auditioning and stuff like that. Cause you know, I'm sure you deal with a lot of that, plus like some of your favorite tips and tricks and tools and stuff you like to use. But I will start you with this. I'll start you with this question.
Okay.
What do you love about your job?
What do I love about my job? I mean, I could go on and on, but the biggest thing for me is I think the big reveal, whether, you know, I'm doing makeup or hair, there's a hen next to my house. Don't ask me why.
That's amazing.
Yeah, totally. I think the best thing is just, you know, seeing the person's reaction or the client's reaction. The biggest thing is comfortability, and I think them feeling comfortable with my work. You know, there's nothing worse, and it's happened to me, not doing other people's makeup, but when I get my makeup done, you know, at a counter or something. I remember in high school I would always do that, and at the end I'd be like, oh my gosh, you know, but it didn't, hopefully the artist didn't read it, but for me, I can tell when people are being genuine and when they feel good. So that's obviously a big reason why I do what I do, and also it's a creative outlet for me. So that's a big one too.
Have you been into hair and makeup since you were little?
You know, not little. Like, growing up in Florida, I actually wanted to be a marine biologist, which is very strange, but I was always obsessed with the ocean and whales and, you know, but then when I actually took that class in high school, I realized this is not for me, right?
Okay.
Science, yeah, that's just not the direction I was going to go. So basically sophomore year is when I decided this was sort of the career path I was going to take, which, you know,
that's pretty young.
My dad, yeah. I mean, my dad wasn't thrilled about it, of course. He was like, you're going to beauty school, you know, but I actually composed a huge write-up of, you know, how you can be successful in the industry. And, you know, I think way back in the day, the beauty school dropout image sort of stuck around with, you know, our parents' generation. So, yeah, but I would say sophomore year in high school, I started to, you know, go nose forward to that path. So.
Wow, you did a business plan for your dad. That's amazing.
More or less, you know, what a 15-year-old can write up, but yeah.
Oh my God. Well, that's, I actually don't think I have ever met anybody who has done that for their parents to convince them of a way that they want to go with their career. That's genius.
Yes.
That's genius. Just want to say hi to my friend Ashley who just joined in. Hi, Ashley. Ashley is one of my friends from Virginia.
Cool.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about why you think hiring a professional makeup artist for whatever kind of shoot you're going to do is important. Because I definitely have opinions about this, but your opinions are more important.
Well, not just because it's my job, but I think it's very important. You know, I've always been behind the scenes, but being on camera, I mean, you always want to put your best foot forward, especially as an actor. You really want to, you know, portray an image or, you know, a character, whatever it is you're attempting to do that day. And I think it's really important for the overall, you know, I sort of talked about this with you a little bit, but the production value of everything. You know, not to say people aren't absolutely stunning without makeup. That's not what I'm trying to say, but we know there's redness, there's eye circles, there's pimples if you're having a pimple that day. All of those things, especially, I'm speaking from my own mind. Like if I go out, you know, to this grocery store and, you know, when I cover it, I feel more confident. And I think that's really important when you're on camera, is to feel the most confident you can feel. And look your best. And for me, I think hiring a professional makeup artist definitely makes a difference because, you know, there's skincare aspects into it, like you were mentioning. There's, you know, products, and it doesn't necessarily have to be higher end or things that, you know, the client can obtain on their own, but it's all about application and just knowledge of what looks good on camera and certain lighting setups, etc.
I love that. By the way, if you see me looking down, it's because I'm writing notes of questions I want to follow up with.
Okay.
Because I think some, like, this is so great. Yeah, I agree. And I also feel like, you know, when, especially for actors, if they're hiring a makeup artist for like headshots, right?
Mm-hmm.
The look that you need between like the different types of characters you're doing is probably going to be different. And a seasoned makeup artist is going to know how to do that quickly and like what the industry is trending in probably, right? Because you probably pay a lot of attention to that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, if I watch a movie or a show, that's like all I'm focusing on. And, you know, I think that goes for any department. I'm sure you're looking at the lighting or the camera.
Yeah, that's absolutely what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I look at all that. But the biggest thing is obviously seeing how trends progress. I watched a lot of older movies from like the early 2000s, and the difference is alarming, especially now that everything is, you know, 5K HD, Ultra HD. It's like you want to make sure you're using the right products and the right priming products as well for the makeup. And again, you know, that can't always be achieved unless you have prior knowledge of it. So
right. So I love that you're saying basically the production value, you're bringing in your own. It's kind of like, especially if you're hiring somebody to go do a project that you're financing, what's that, headshots, reels, short films, web series, whatever, that the makeup artist is part of the overall production value. Can you tell when you look at headshots and reels and stuff, can you tell when somebody's done it themselves versus when they've had it done?
You know, yes and no. Like, I feel like more so in headshots, definitely, because it's a headshot. You know, moving video, it's definitely important. But again, depending on the lighting setup, you know, it definitely plays more of a role in pictures. Personally, for me, I think it's definitely important because you're right up here. So any discoloration, and you don't want to over edit the video or the picture after the fact.
Right.
So again, hiring a makeup artist beforehand, you know, you don't want to have to go through and put a filter on the whole video because you did your own makeup and you didn't like the blending or whatever. So
right. So let's talk about hiring a makeup artist, because I think it's a little intimidating if you've never done it before, or even if you have done it before and you maybe weren't like happy with that first person you hired. What are some tips that you have of like how to find somebody, what questions to ask them, like how to gauge whether they're the right person for you, that kind of thing?
Well, we live in a world of social media right now. So to me, you know, I think that's really important. Go look at, I always am very transparent with my clients and like, here's my website, or my future clients, people I've never met. I give them my website, I give them my Instagram. And that's the way they can get an idea of the kind of work that I do. You know, and if they look at it and they're like, you know what, maybe it's not for me, they can look around and shop around. But I think the biggest thing is just doing your research, or word of mouth is huge. That's basically how a lot of my clients happen is, oh, you did so-and-so's reel shoot or so-and-so's headshot, loved her makeup, saw the footage, saw the picture, would love to hire you. So I think just always being consistent is important, and just showing reputability. And it's not necessarily what you've done, but it's what you're presenting and the overall, you know, feel of how you apply, I think is important.
Yeah. I think you're right. The websites and social media, we get to see as the person who's hiring somebody, we get to see really where your specialty lies. Right?
Totally.
Because I feel like one of your specialties is this really I feel like you do really beautiful beauty makeup.
Thank you.
It doesn't feel super heavy. And I'm sure you can do a lot of other things as well, but like that's where that's where your jam is, right? Whereas other people, there are some makeup artists who I think, you know, they're really great at special effects or bruises, or they're really into like that high gloss, you know, I would call it like music video makeup, right? Where it's going to be that super high, like lots of really colors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you have to know, as you're trying to find somebody, you have to know who you're looking for, like what's the product that you want in the end, and then work your way backwards, it sounds like.
Yeah. And I think for me, like, if you want Kim Kardashian, I'll give you Kim Kardashian, you know, but 9 times out of 10, again, it's about comfortability, you know, and unless your character is this, you know, totally done up, she's on a date or she's, I don't know, at an event or something, you know, red carpet makeup is very different than headshot makeup.
Ooh, talk about the difference, girl. That's good. The difference between red carpet makeup and headshot makeup.
So many things. I think the biggest thing, you know, on the red carpet, there's a lot of flash photography. There's a lot of things happening. So I wouldn't use, you know, products with SPF. That's going to make the skin look whiter. It's going to leave a flashback. So there's certain things like, and you learn that with time. It's, you know, I've seen photos of my own work from, you know, years ago, and I'm like, girl, you know, that didn't work.
What were you doing?
You know, you learn. But I think, like you said, music videos, you know, you can always go a little bit more, especially because it's very dim lighting. You can amp up the eyes or amp up the highlight, but if you have broad daylight, you know, natural sunlight, I like to keep it really light-handed because I feel like your attention is drawn away from the talent if all you're looking at is cakey makeup, you know. So
which is kind of how I feel about the Kardashians. But anyway,
I mean, hey, they have beautiful skin, so there's
right?
that. But
yeah, that's always helpful. So it sounds like it's important to, when you're hiring a makeup artist, that I feel like not only making sure that they can do what you need, but also you're giving them information about what it is that you're going to be doing. So if I hire you and I go, I'm going to be doing a real scene and it's going to be outside in broad daylight, but we'll be in the shade, but it's still natural lighting, versus if I were to hire you and say, I'm going to be walking the red carpet at 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that makeup artist can deal with both of those, like that they know what those situations call for.
Absolutely. And what products they call for as well. But that also depends on the person's skin. You know, everyone wears makeup differently. Everyone has a different face shape. So that's something to definitely, you know, take into account. But yeah, natural daylight is, you know, 8 times out of 10 what we're working with. So you definitely want to be a little bit lighter with it.
Have somebody who knows how to do that.
Important, yeah.
What kind of questions do you feel like people should ask somebody if they're considering them to be hired?
What kind of questions? Well,
like,
I think,
you know, outside of like, how much do you charge? I mean, that's an important question, but that's not maybe the only question.
Not at all. No. And that varies from artist to artist, you know. If somebody is on a budget and maybe you quote, you know, that's always important. You know, you want to choose your artist based on what you can afford. But good work ain't cheap. So I'll just throw that out there. But I think another important question to ask, a lot of people now are focusing more on, you know, is this product going to clog my pores? I have sensitive skin. You know, what are you using on my skin? A lot of people I work with, especially if I've never worked with them before, you know, they're always kind of eyeballing what I'm putting on. And I think that's an opportunity for me to be like, just so you know, this moisturizer, it's non-comedogenic. It has really nice ingredients. And, you know, I always try out the products I'm using on my clients, on myself. I have very sensitive skin. So I think it's important to know, you know, if that matters to you. You know, some people, cruelty-free really matters to them. You know, so they might ask, are you using cruelty-free products? Excuse me. So whatever their, I guess, concern is they should definitely ask the artist that ahead of time versus the day of. Because if you're shopping around for a makeup artist and, you know, maybe their products or whatever doesn't align with what you're looking for, I think that's really important as well. That way, day of, you know, there's very minimal drama and everyone's happy.
Yeah. The cruelty free, that hadn't even occurred to me. Also, like, organic would probably be
organic
a question if that's something that you're concerned with.
Yeah, and sanitation, especially, you know, with what we have going on right now. I always, you know, show my clients I'm sanitizing my hands, show them I'm cleaning my brushes. That's a huge thing, and I know people won't rehire artists if they don't practice proper sanitation. So I think that's really important also to know who you're working with and make sure that they're educated with that as well.
Yeah, I also feel like making sure that when you're talking to them, you're vibing with them.
Yeah.
Right?
Because that's huge. Yeah.
I think it's huge, right? This is why I tell our clients for RYR, I'm like, listen, If you want to hire somebody, we leave that up to you so that you can call them and make sure that you're vibing with them. Because you don't want to have like the most fantastic makeup artist on the planet, but they're really mean, or they don't talk at all, and you're like, I don't understand what's happening. Like, you just want to make sure that you're really getting along with them and that they're pleasant and that they're not crazy.
Yes. Yeah. And especially, you know, I do a lot of film work, and when you spend 12 hours a day with your talent, you definitely want to make sure, you know, especially when it's a 6 a.m. call and they drag themselves into your trailer. It's like, you want to have good energy. You don't want to be a Debbie Downer or negative or rude, or acting like you don't care about, you know, applying their makeup. So obviously, if you like the person, that's a big deal too. So I think, again, word of mouth is big for that. Say you like somebody, they did your makeup great, but they're not available. Here's my friend. She's awesome. 9 times out of 10, if you vibed with that person, you're going to vibe with their referral as well. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what can somebody do? What's like the best practices for an actor who is coming on set and they're going to be sitting in your chair? What do you want them to come in with? Do you want them to come in with like a clean face that's not moisturized? Do you want them to come in with a clean face that is moisturized? Like, what do you like to work with? Like, what can an actor do to prepare for you?
Obviously, you know, there's been times where people show up to set with makeup from the night before. I definitely don't suggest that. And I try my best, you know, if I'm doing makeup or if I'm doing hair, I let the producer know, hey, please let talent know, or the photographer know, or whoever, please let the talent know to come in, you know, clean and ready for makeup application. I always tell my clients, if you have a moisturizer of choice, if you have a serum of choice, vitamin C, whatever you're using, you can apply that at home and then come in. But always let your artist know what you already have on your skin. And that's the very first question I ask is, what's already on your skin? That's important to know because that's the foundation for where you're laying the makeup. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. If you come in with, you know, a lot of women now have eyelash extensions, that's totally cool. You know, you can work around that. Some women are very particular about the way their brows are applied. Come in with your brows done. You know, I'm pretty open, but my biggest concern is just skin being clean, because that's going to give me a fresh slate.
We're going to loop back around a little bit to best cleansing and moisturizing products that you enjoy, but we'll get there. Okay, cool. So you had mentioned that when you do makeup for headshots, your philosophy is to try to, like, tell me your philosophy when you do makeup for headshots.
Well, it depends, again, on the photographer. I work with a couple of headshot photographers that actually shoot outside in natural light, which is cool. But I wouldn't say most, but a lot of headshot photographers, you know, are shooting in a studio with a lot of different lights. So I think the biggest thing for that is I need to know what kind of lighting I'm working with, because my boyfriend is, you know, a camera operator and a lot of my friends are camera operators, I'm always looking at the camera gear just because I know the quality. And again, light-handed versus a little bit more. You know, if you have studio lighting, it's going to eat up a lot of your blush, so you might want to apply a little bit more blush. So I think the biggest thing going into it is what environment is this headshot taking place? And then secondly...
Oh, she froze. Sorry, you froze for a second.
Don't
worry about it.
Let me know, because we're on my iPhone. Nothing fancy here.
Okay.
I think the second thing is, what character is this person playing? That's, you know, the biggest question. And also, not just that, but the progression. You know, where are we starting in the headshot series? She might be blue collar. You know, she's working at Walmart or whatever. She's obviously not going to wear a lipstick, right? And then now she's on date night. You know, now we're going to keep gradually adding more makeup. So I need to know the progression, both with the hair and the makeup, because you can always build makeup. You can't really take it off, if that makes any sense.
Well, you can, but it just eats up time, right?
It's extremely time consuming, and we're all trying to, you know, do our job as efficiently as we can, especially with headshots, because, you know, a lot of the time the actor is nervous and you don't want to prolong their session. You just want to make them feel comfortable, and have a plan is really important as well.
You also mentioned to me that you tried to do makeup for headshots specifically in a way that somebody could show up at the audition looking very similar.
Yeah, I think that's important too. A lot of the times, you know, I'll ask my clients, are you comfortable with a winged liner? You know, do you wear lipstick on a normal basis? Yeah, maybe this character is wearing lipstick. That's easy to just throw on a color, but I think winged liner is a big one that people ask for a lot, and I always sort of backtrack. And I'm like, well, do you wear winged liner in real life? And if they are a winged liner girl, that is their day in and day out, then yes, I highly suggest, you know, wearing that in your photos if you feel confident with it. But if that's not something you can execute on your own, I wouldn't necessarily do that in a headshot photo because, yeah, I want, again, something they can replicate. And, you know, there's nothing like seeing a headshot of somebody and then them stepping into the room and being like, oh, you know, her face looks a bit different than I thought. Or, you know, that's the industry. It's look-based as much as, you know, it's not the elephant in the room. It's just what it is. So
also, I feel like you can't, when you're getting your makeup done, either for headshots or for, you know, anything else, if the makeup artist is going down a path that you cannot replicate, tell them that. They're not going to get offended, right? Like, you would never be offended by somebody saying, oh, you know what? I don't know how to do that. Can we do something different?
Yeah, and you know, there's been circumstances where I hand the mirror over at the end and someone's like, oh, that might be a little too much blush. And then that's when I'll kind of segue into, well, let's see what it looks like on camera, because it will take away some of the blush. And then that's when they have that moment of like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, definitely don't hesitate to let your artist know. I have no problem if people tell me that, because I think communication is really important. And it's your headshot shoot. It's not mine. So
right.
Make you happy.
Right. Whereas if you're getting your makeup done for, say, a film that you've been hired on, or, you know, something like that, then it's not really as an actor, it's not under your control. It's like what they want you to look like.
Yeah. And I think that's important practice for any actress or actor that's starting out. You definitely want to have an open attitude about everything. Because I've definitely been on sets where you can definitely tell that someone's a little bit harder to work with. And that's when I'll just bow down and, you know, whatever you want, you know, you're on camera, I'll give it to you. But I think it's important to just be flexible, because when you're on a set, that's the role you were, you know, casted. So if she's getting beat up that day, you're getting a black eye. I mean, it's not, you don't really get to choose. So
right.
You get to choose.
Right. Yeah. How much time do you feel like it should take to do a nice, decent face? Like, when somebody is kind of thinking through the timeline of, you know, hiring somebody and how much time it's going to take to get their makeup done, and their, like, I guess I should say makeup and hair. How much time should people allot for that, do you think?
Prior to a real shoot or on set?
Let's say prior to a real shoot. Things we can control.
Okay.
On set, like, we can't control that.
Yeah.
You know.
No, the AD's running in like, you got 20 minutes, and you're like, all right, cool. You know, she has no makeup on. But that's fine. We can make that work. I think for real shoots, again, I'm working with the photographer. I'm working with the run of day. I'm working with, am I doing makeup in my car? You know, is it hot? Or are we in a space where we can take the time while everyone's setting up? In an ideal world, I would love an hour for makeup and, you know, 30 minutes for hair, but it doesn't always work out to get an hour and a half for both. So you know.
But again, if you could control it, right? Like, an hour and a half would be a good place to start.
Yeah, I mean, I could do makeup for 2 hours, but we don't, you know, there's no amount of time for that. So you definitely don't want to go too long, but not too quick either, because you want to give the client or the actress the experience that they paid for. I think is important too.
Getting a good, that's another reason why it's important to talk to the person ahead of time so that you can see what the experience might be like with them. Is it going to be relaxing, or do they talk too much, or something like that.
We did have a couple questions. I don't know if you want me to answer them.
Let's get to those. Well, sure.
At the end?
Let's do it.
Okay.
As somebody who isn't into makeup and prefers the natural look, aka no makeup period, I hear you, girl. Should I still wear something such as concealer or moisturizer? I always wear lipstick, however. So I don't know if she means for a shoot or just in general. I would say.
I think she means for a shoot, right?
Let's pretend that that's what she meant.
Okay.
If you want to, who asked this question? Kimberly, if you want to expand upon that, do you mean for a shoot or for in real life? But let's talk about it in the context of a shoot.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
If she always wears lipstick, that's a really good point to know if someone's like, hey, this is my lipstick tube. This is my day in, day out. Oh, she's saying for headshots.
For headshots. Okay.
I am always open to using a color, again, that my client or my actress feels beautiful in. If it's something out of their purse, yeah, let's put it on, Red isn't always for everyone. I would never push a lip color on somebody that they don't feel comfortable wearing. If you like a very natural look, I definitely think, obviously, I think everyone needs a little bit of concealer, but that's just me. But I think if your skin is able to just do concealer, I usually go that route with my clients rather than doing a full foundation face. Because again, that maybe people don't feel comfortable wearing that, but then there's also women that are like, I have to have full coverage foundation. Okay, that's fine too. So, if concealer, let's see, what did she say? Concealer and moisturizer and lipstick is your thing. I would totally just, go with that in your shoot. Let the artist know, hey, this is my everyday thing. This is what I'm comfortable with. Maybe you can amp up your eyes during the shoot. It doesn't necessarily have to be, amping up the contour, the skin, or anything crazy. I think just little subtle elements like amping up the eyes or the lip color is enough for sure. I
also kind of feel like it also depends on what the characters are and the looks that you're going for are in the shoot.
Of course.
So like if you're doing let's say you're doing a 3-look headshot session and one of them is like blue collar worker who would be on Shameless.
Right.
And then you have one that's like, maybe network comedy or something like that. And then you have like The Hills or Gossip Girl or like something high-end CW.
Yeah.
The high-end CW, you're probably not going to not want any makeup because that's not the look of those kinds of shows. That's not the kind of character you're going for.
Of course.
So, but the blue collar you wouldn't wear anything because then, because you're trying to do it kind of rough and tumble.
Of course.
Yeah. So I feel like everything you said and the character that you're going for.
Yeah, and also what age range are you playing? I think that's a question I ask people because someone can sit in my chair that in real life is 25, but they're playing a high schooler. So again, that's very fresh and natural. I mean, the girls nowadays, they definitely wear a little bit more than when I was 17, but you definitely.
And it makes me so sad because I'm like, do you guys understand? You are like 20 to 25 years old. You're gorgeous no matter what you do. You don't have to add anything extra. But it's fine. We're
living in a world of, Kylie and Instagram, and that's totally, hey, if that's your prerogative, go for it. But I think if you're playing a 17-year-old on camera, it's really important to just keep it super duper fresh and natural. Unless the character, is alternative or whatever, we get hey, Kate Kennedy, she just came on, but we get a lot of those as well. Like if the character is more alternative or whatever, you would adjust the makeup accordingly as well.
So Jackie Fung said, in talking about like the difference between what it looks like to you in real life and what it looks like on camera. She says, one time I was working on a set and I felt the makeup artist caked on a lot of makeup and then I saw myself on camera and it looked like I had nothing on.
Yeah. And that goes
amazing.
Back to the lighting eats up makeup and you can always add more, and that's why having a set bag as a makeup artist is really important because I'm sitting at that monitor and whether or not my actress knows it, I know in my head, like, ooh, I need to amp up, her blush a little bit, or I need to get in there and amp up her lip because like you said, you could feel like she's caking on a lot, and that's definitely stressful in the moment. But then on camera, you're like, oh my gosh, you know.
You're like, where did my cheeks go? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of steps to makeup too. So sometimes the client feels like you're applying a lot of makeup, but for me, it's like I'm doing this spray, and then I'm doing powder, then I'm spraying again. So it's a whole process, really. But yeah, the camera eats a lot of it for sure.
Yeah, and if you don't believe us, and you're like, I don't believe you, try putting on like twice as much as you would normally put on, and then go stand outside and use your iPhone
or a ring light if you have one at home.
Light,
yeah,
right? And,
yeah.
But the natural light, there's such a quality to natural sunlight. So it's all photons, but how those I get very technical about this lighting stuff.
Go for it.
How photons interact inside, and how they're being produced versus outside through the atmosphere, and like what's happening with the air quality and stuff. It's a whole thing. So your makeup artist has to kind of read that situation and know where you're going to be to make it look as its best.
For sure.
How do you feel about actors bringing their own products? So for example, when I was an actor back in the day, I'm actually allergic to brush cleaner. Mm-hmm. Most brush cleaners, maybe not all anymore, but back in the day, like like you have very sensitive skin.
You have extremely sensitive skin. I will say that.
Yes, I do.
From meeting you.
Right, like I do this and it's like red for a day.
Yeah,
I'm basically see-through. It's fine. I often have to tell people, like, the more I exert myself, like the redder my face gets, but I'm totally fine. It's really cute. Like I can blow dry my hair and my face will be red.
Nice little flush. You're not alone. You're not alone. There's so many people, like, I have this one guy, and I feel bad, but he's my friend, but I call him, like, okay, Rudolph, because he'll come in and he's just the reddest nose I've ever seen, and it's like, that's just how his body reacts. Yeah. I gotta counteract that.
But are you okay with people bringing their own stuff, like their own brushes or their own foundation that they really love or something like that? Or are you kind of against that? How do you feel about that?
I'm not against it at all. Again, if you like brushes, I would prefer to use my brushes. Obviously, that's, my comfort zone. But again, I always show the client what brush cleaner I'm using. The one I personally use, it does have a citrusy smell to it, but it's all pretty, I wouldn't say it's natural, but it's as close as you can get. I'll let them see that process, but if they're still not comfortable, I can go in with their brushes. And I also keep disposable sponges in my kit. Not the best for the environment, but they're my absolute favorite for my clients that are a little bit more particular about my brushes. I'll just go in with a sponge and apply it. Doesn't really bother me at all. Some people let me go in with my fingers. That's not my first choice, but if they're okay with it, I always ask their comfort level. But I have no problem with them bringing their own products. I'll work with
That's good. Because I feel like, especially for people of color, so I worked with a ton of makeup artists over my career as a photographer and videographer. And if you're a person of color, you want to make sure that whoever, and they will totally get this, because a lot of white people don't understand this.
Yeah.
So the average person of color's face has like 10 different shades of color on it, right? Like, whereas mine, I can get away with using one foundational color and it makes me look great because I'm really just kind of the same color all over. But a lot of like Asian, Hispanic, Black girls, they have a lot of different tones, and you need to hire a makeup artist that understands how to work with those tones, right?
Yes.
So as an actor of color, I bring my own makeup. This is exactly my point. So that's why I asked, can you bring your own stuff? Because a lot of especially Black girls, will bring their own foundations and go, this is what I use. This is what's exactly what I use all the time. Because, I mean, I even had, as an actor, I don't understand how she did this, but I had a makeup artist who put makeup on my face that was yellow.
You have red undertones, so.
And I looked jaundiced, but they like let me on set, and I had to do the thing, and I felt so terrible. And I have very light skin. I actually, it's less light now, having lived here, than it was even, in Virginia where I lived before. But if you have a particularly tough skin tone to match that might not be in somebody's kit. If you're really dark or you're really light, like Anderson Cooper, who's basically like the shade of a piece of paper, you know, then bring your own stuff. It sounds like you can do.
Yeah, and I can't even tell you how many times. It's actually kind of sad, like, when I go on set and I have a woman of color, and to me that's my favorite skin tone to work on, but I get the hesitancy because they might have had a bad experience. And the first thing they ask is, do you have my color? Mm-hmm. And as a professional makeup artist, I think it's super important to have everybody's skin tone, and there's so many brands on the market now with so many different undertones. And yeah, some people are very difficult to match. So I have no problem if even if they have L'Oreal, you know, which is from the drugstore, but they have so many colors, I have no problem putting that on. But for me, I have such a wide range of undertones in the darker complexion range. So I always show them what I have and show them on their, you know, on their hand or something so they can kind of compare. But yeah, that's huge. And it's really upsetting whether you're an alabaster fair-skinned woman or darkest complexion you can be. It's really upsetting when you don't get the right color. I think it's important to understand color theory and matching for sure.
Yeah, and also, you know, this is along those lines, if you're a woman of color, you need to make sure whoever is going to be filming you and or taking your picture also understands how to film and photograph those skin tones. It is important.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have seen so many photographers just totally screw up and make a black girl who's got the most fabulous skin color look orange or look white. Like that is, you know, so you just need to make sure that whoever you're hiring in all of this understands how to work with what you got going on.
Yeah. So, and I think the biggest thing is a lot of the times darker complexions can look gray. Or the opposite. And for me, like, I think how I really honed in on that is working on a photo shoot and working on campaigns where it is like studio lighting, you can't hide anything, here she is. And you know, just silently assessing in my head, you know, next time tweak this or tweak that, and just really, again, working with the client. You know, some women, they like to look more warm, whereas I might have gone with something more neutral. So I like to have that conversation and see what their comfort level is, for sure.
That's awesome. And that goes also back to, if you're the person hiring somebody, not only ask those questions, but tell them and maybe even show them a picture of you ahead of time. Right. So that they know. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get in. So it's already 1:44. I can't believe it. So let's quickly talk about makeup for men, because this is such an important topic that I don't think nearly enough people talk about.
I love doing makeup on men. I'll start with that. I love male grooming. I love it.
I am going to brag on you a little bit here.
Go ahead.
Like I said, I've worked with a lot of different makeup artists. And you're one of the few, and like really one of the few, who understands how to put makeup on a man's face where it does not look like he's wearing makeup.
Thank you.
It bothers me so much, even when I'm like watching TV. Every once in a while, I'll be like, too much makeup. I can see the makeup. Like when they've done the under eye so well that it doesn't look natural. It looks like it was made for a woman, if that makes sense.
Or just yellow or something weird. I don't know.
Or when you can see like the brown eyeliner that they're trying to define the eye. So
no.
If you're a guy watching this and you need a makeup artist for your shoots because you want to feel a little refreshed, you want to make sure that you're looking your best, but also completely natural, like the most rested version of yourself, hire Jordan, because she knows what the hell she's doing.
Thank you.
So talk about how you approach doing makeup for men.
Oh, well, I think the biggest thing is every man that sits in my chair. I won't say every man, because there's some that are like, go with the flow. But a lot of different men will sit, and the very first thing they say is, I don't like a lot. I don't like a lot. And the experience sort of freaks them out. And it might be because it's considered feminine, right? Or whatever's going on in their brain. I can't read people's minds. But again, I'm there to make people feel comfortable. So
I always say, you know what? I'll tell them exactly what's going on their face. I'll be like, all I'm going to do today, you have a little bit of redness on the nose. I'm going to go ahead and color correct that for you. And then I'm applying, you know, a primer to fill in where you have acne scarring or whatever. And then once they hear why you're doing it, they're like, oh, I guess that makes sense, right? It's especially important for men of color, darker complexions, controlling shine. And, you know, even if you're just putting powder on a man, it's not just powder, let's be real. A lot of people think, oh, you're just powdering. No, there's so many steps that go into it. But you don't want your skin, A, to look like you're wearing makeup, or B, to look too shiny. You kind of want to find that balance. And again, that's all about color matching as well. So I think that's the biggest thing.
If a guy is, let's say he's on a budget, he cannot hire a makeup artist per se for his shoot or whatever he's doing, or maybe it's really last minute, but he knows he needs something. How, women, we know how to shop for makeup typically, but how, if you would give like a piece or two of advice for a man shopping for makeup, what would that advice be?
Totally. So for example, my boyfriend, you know, he doesn't wear makeup, but sometimes he is on camera because he teaches some cinematography classes. And what I suggested for him, it's actually a product by Neutrogena. You can get it at the drugstore. I always suggest drugstore products to a man because the chances of them going into Sephora or Ulta may not be as high. Like, it's a little bit low key to just go into the drugstore to grab something and then, oh, hey, I'm going to pick up. It's a shine control primer. So I think that's important. If you're a man, you could just keep that in your glove box, put it on. You know, it has no color. It's something that just controls shine, and you know you have it on, but the world's not going to see it. A lot of men, you know, they'll pick out a concealer and just put a little bit where they need it, depending on if they go to an audition. And, you know, I think some actors, they sort of get hired as, it's funny because I've worked with a lot of the same guys who are like the homeless man, right? Or like whatever, the burly beard. And it's like, that's their thing, you know? So it depends on what sort of character, again, that the man is playing. And again, in everyday life, like what kind of auditions he's going out for.
Okay, cool. So a shine control primer.
A good moisturizer, an SPF, and a shine control primer. I think those are the biggest thing. And blotting papers for men as well. Very important because, again, powder, you're not always going to have it on you as a guy. Blotting papers, you know, it's a little tiny thing. You can put it in your pocket and just touch up when you need to. So
several guys we have shot with recently have brought their own blotting paper. I was so proud of them.
Yeah.
It was so great.
And those are very inexpensive. And it's neither masculine nor feminine. It's just an object you can have for your own comfort. So,
and maybe even if you're confused about all of this stuff still, if you're like, what the fuck is blotting paper? Maybe you could be like taking a girlfriend or your wife or like, you know, a girl who's a friend who understands this stuff and take her with you to, you know, Walgreens.
Yeah. And if anybody, you know, is on, or if they ever ask you, they can always DM me and I can like screenshot a picture of what the product looks like.
Which brings me to my next question.
Go ahead.
Which is, you know, clearly you know what you're talking about.
Thank you.
You've just been in it for so long and you're so educated and you keep up on all the trends and it's awesome. My question to you is this. Do you do any sort of like consulting or like makeup shopping with people? Sort of like a personal shopper would go with somebody to go get outfits and stuff. Do you do that for makeup?
Mostly, yeah. I do that a lot. Like, not so much personal shopping, I don't think is the title I'd put on it. But for example, I did some corporate headshots before this whole crazy Corona thing happened. And the woman, I guess, had gotten my number from the man that hired me in the office and was like, oh my gosh, you know, what was that lipstick? What was that blush? What was that eyebrow pencil? And I'm like, here's what it is. Here was the color. Here's where you can buy it. So if anyone ever has a question, I'd be more than happy to assist them with where they can find it. But I've never like personally, you know, gone to the store with a client.
Girl, I bet you put a thumbs up in the comments if you guys are watching that you would hire her to come with you makeup shopping. I would, because
thank you.
Also, as I'm approaching my 40th birthday this year, how I am like my skin has changed.
Of course.
Right? See, Maria would do it.
I'm available for any makeup personal shopping needs. You just let me know, ladies. I got you.
We'll go in face masks and everything. Going to Walgreens.
Whatever. I'm open
That is
to
awesome.
it.
We have time for a couple more questions. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to, write them in. If you have something specific you want her to answer for you, because she knows some of you. When you're looking to hire a makeup artist, what do you feel like is the average cost you should be setting aside? Like, what do you feel like, on the low end, the mid-tier, and maybe high-end stuff? Or does it really depend on what you're asking them to do?
It really depends. I can't, I don't know who's watching this.
Oh, look at that. Look, there's a new product you can make, a personal makeup class or a makeup class for auditions.
Hit me up.
I'm just saying.
Instagram's right at the top. I'd love to do any of this stuff, you guys, especially during quarantine. Like, if you want to do a one-on-one session,
give a thumbs up if you want her to do an IG live on her own channel where she can take you through this stuff.
Okay, tell me why filming is not for me, because I've been editing IGTV tutorials that were 3 times longer than they needed to be. So...
Well, if you just do a live, you only have an hour.
You're right. You're right.
You know what I mean?
might do a live. That's a better idea for sure. Ask me. Go back.
So sorry. The pricing, like
pricing.
what people? Because I just don't want people to think you can hire a makeup artist for $50 and get a really solid result. You know what I mean?
No. Here's my thing. I'm not gonna put a number out there, right? Because it depends.
I was just asking for average numbers.
Sure. So I think, for me personally, like, I'm a combo artist, so I do hair and makeup. There's some women that only do makeup, and there's some that only do hair. But I'm combo, so I base my prices off of my kit, things that I have in my kits. It's very expensive to maintain our kits, if you could imagine. Especially the more you're doing it, the more stuff you have to replenish. So I definitely go off of that. Length of time is a big thing of how I...
Ooh, she froze. But isn't she awesome? I know you guys can still hear me. I know, right? Kate, she is so good at both. It just bring her in, which is so awesome. Hopefully she'll pop back in for us. But you guys should totally DM her and pressure her to make a class or to go shopping with you. Be super cool for her to... she left. Let's go back. She's going to enter again, I think. Oh no, technology, you guys. Technology. I'm going to add her back on. We're going to wait for her. Let's see. Connecting. There we go. Technology.
Oh my gosh.
So silly. Don't even worry about it.
Okay. So that plays a huge role. Amount of time I'm going to be there. If people are on a budget, I have no problem being like, hey, I can just come in and do a do and go service. That's where you're going to see the lower pricing, right? Because I'm in and out. I'm giving you what you want. But unfortunately, I'm not going to stay on set because that obviously costs a little bit more.
Hey, okay, so that's an option. That's a do and go. That's a cool phrase. Is that a normal phrase I should have known?
Yeah, I mean, at least for our industry, I definitely have women that are like, hey, I'm sort of on a budget. Here's what I can afford. And I'm like, all right, let's do a do and go. That service is, like I said, an hour and a half to get it done. But, I like to present options for people. I don't like to lock them into a price point if they can't afford it, because they're paying for you. They're paying for the outfits. I mean, they're paying for everything. So I try to be flexible, but still working for a price point that I think is fair.
That's awesome. So if somebody's looking for something like that and they're shopping around, is that like $100? Is that like 150? Is that like 75? Like what does the do and go look like versus thinking about somebody staying there with you for, say, 3 hours or so? Just general. It doesn't have to be your actual pricing, but just like ballpark.
I think, again, hair and makeup, it depends on what I'm doing. But I think it's hard to say because, for example, we talked about, men's makeup.
my male grooming price is going to be different than full female, long hair and makeup. I mean, those all play a role. For women, eyelashes, there's all extensions, there's all these add-on services, which I think.
But somebody shouldn't be thinking, like, if you're a woman and you need makeup for a shoot or something, you shouldn't be thinking $50. You should probably be thinking $150 and up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And up.
Easily.
And then for men, it's probably going to be floating around maybe between 50 to 100, depending on what they need. Does that sound about right?
I mean, I don't charge 50 for men, but
okay. It's possible.
It is. Hey, especially, with all this time we've had off, like, I'm willing to work with people's budgets. I think that's really important, but you definitely are going to, if you're a woman, you're looking at a little bit over $200 you want to set aside, especially if you want the artist to stay, which I think you should.
Yeah, I agree 1,000% with that.
It's very important. But again, the price, at least my price to stay, isn't like double. I just sort of go with the flow and kind of see what the client's working with. But yeah, so you just want to anticipate that.
Yeah, and you just, like, you don't want the makeup number to be something that you did not budget for. And that's the only reason I'm bringing it up, is because I want people to budget properly and utilize the stuff that they have. Okay, so we're basically out of time.
Okay.
Give a thumbs up if you want her to come back on and answer more questions, because I have questions that we didn't even get to. So if you want to see her back on, say amen, or give her a thumbs up, or give her some hearts and some love. But if they want to work with you and they want to check you out, like, what's the best way for them to find you, to connect with you? Tell us how you want them to chat with you.
So my Instagram is listed at the top of this page. It's _Jordan Alex, Jordan with an A, Alex, ALEX. You can follow me. You can DM me, add me as a friend. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. If you want to go more in depth, you can definitely DM me and I'll give you my cell phone number and we can have a phone conversation. I have no problem with that as well. But Instagram is a really great way, for you to look at my body of work. My website is on there as well. And also to contact me. And then if you do decide to book me, I always have a phone conversation with the client prior to the day. So
yeah, that's really important, that consultation.
Yeah.
So we can all be on the same page.
Yeah.
Jordan, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
today.
Thank you for having me. This was cool. I don't usually do the whole live thing, but this was fun.
It's so fun, right? And
yeah.
you get to really, chat, and everybody gets to give you love, and you get to feel really appreciated, which you should be. I definitely think I probably will bug you about this, but I definitely think creating some tutorial videos or going some lives, or I feel like there's some key things that people would buy from you.
I'm telling you what, my boyfriend, he was encouraging me, right? But then we got to editing my video and he's like, babe, this is like too much information. And I'm like, hey.
That's why it's a series. That's why it's a course that you charge for. It's about creating that passive income, which I'm all about. Anyway, all right. I'm going to let you go.
All right. If anybody wants any tips, follow me. Let's talk. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have. Awesome. Thanks, Melissa, for having me.
You're the best, girl.
I
just love you.
I appreciate it. Have a good day.
All right, we'll see you later. You
Bye,
too.
everyone. Stay safe.
Bye.